Hello and welcome to Honors Freshman Grammar Handout 1. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about errors related to using the semicolon and colon. So just to review, this is just a review of all the comma rules we've looked at so far. Okay, so just a review of all the comma rules we've looked at so far. Now down here I'm going to talk about how to use, so you know comma rules. Down here I'm going to tell you about I'm going to talk to you about using a semicolon and colons. All right. Okay. So far, whenever we've had a compound sentence, okay, I've told you that you would connect a compound sentence with, you would have an independent clause, comma, and then conjunction, and then another independent clause. All right. So far, when we punctuated compound sentences, I had you punctuate the compound sentences with a comma and then a conjunction. Okay? But there's another way to punctuate compound sentences. Instead of using a comma and conjunction for punctuating compound sentences, you can use a semicolon instead. So you can use a semicolon instead. So when you have two independent clauses, you can connect it with a semicolon. So when you have two independent clauses, you can connect it with a semicolon. Example: I hate cake. I love pizza. Okay, that's not really true, but you know, that's fine. I mean, I love pizza, but I also love cake. All right. So you see here, I have an independent clause and I have a second independent clause. Instead of combining it with a comma and a conjunction, I can combine it with a semicolon. Okay, colons, all right? So first of all, you use a colon after an independent clause. So you have to use a colon after an independent clause. So you would never use it unless there was an independent clause preceding the colon. So use after an independent clause. So, okay, colons are they can be used to introduce a list or some other expression. So it can be used to introduce, introduce a list or expression. Okay? So that might be confusing for now. I know some of you are like, wait, what is she talking about? But no worries, I will work examples of colons and then I think you'll see what I mean. So let's go through these examples. Johnny hated school, his sister loves it. Okay, this is punctuated incorrectly because whenever you have two independent clauses, you can't just use a comma. If you have two independent clauses, you either need a comma or conjunction or a semicolon. So if I were to correctly punctuate this, I would use a semicolon instead. So it should be Johnny hated school, semicolon, his sister loves it. Same thing with here. I have two independent clauses. So again, when you have a compound sentence, your independent clauses need to be connected with either a comma and a conjunction or a semicolon. Since we're talking about semicolons, I'm just going to correct it by using a semicolon. Okay? Now let's look at examples with colons. All right, so this is an example where you would need a colon. So I need 4 paint colors: blue, red, and green. So notice, all right, you would use a colon here because here, all right, you have an independent clause. So again, you would only use a colon if first of all, you had an independent clause preceding it. All right? So here in this case, you have a list of colors following the colon. Okay? So if you were to correctly punctuate this, it should be, I need 4 paint colors. So I need 4 paint colors, colon, blue, red, and green. And remember, you need commas to separate the blue and the red. Okay, so again, you can use a colon here because you're introducing some sort of list or expression, and you can use a colon because you have an independent clause preceding that list or expression. So you can use a colon because you have an independent clause preceding that list or expression. All right. Here's another example. I have one piece of advice: do your homework. Okay, so here again, instead of having a comma, you can actually use a colon. you can use a colon because A, you're introducing this expression, so you're introducing this expression, and B, you have a complete statement or an independent clause preceding it. Okay? So again, you can use colons if you're introducing some sort of list or introducing an expression, and before the colon you need a complete statement or a complete thought. Now, here's an example of a colon used incorrectly. Sarah bought, colon, eggs, ham, and cheese. So first of all, I need commas here. Now, here, you can't use the colon. You can't use the colon because Sarah bought is not a complete statement. So, not a complete statement. So, not a complete statement. So, even though I'm introducing a list, before the colon, I don't have a complete statement. If I don't have a complete statement before the colon, I actually cannot use the colon. So I would either need to change it to Sarah bought the following, colon, or just take out the colon completely. Okay? So again, in order to use the colon, you have to have a complete statement or an independent clause right before the colon. Otherwise, you're better off just not using it. Now, let's look at this other sentence. So I need the following items: eggs, ham, and cheese. So notice again, I'm introducing a list. Okay, so I need commas to separate items in a list. I'm introducing a list, and notice before the list I have a complete statement or an independent clause. I need the following items. Because I do have a complete statement or an independent clause right before the list, I can use the colon there. Now guys, colons and semicolons are a pretty complicated concept, okay? So we'll spend some time talking about this Friday as well. I just wanted to introduce it to you today. Now, do the best you can. To go ahead with the best you can, work on correcting these sentences. It's okay if you're not quite sure what to do. I just want you to try and give it your best shot. And then we're going to go over this and we'll hopefully hammer things out about this on Friday. God bless you. Have a great day.